It's a response to the fact that we have been on the go, go, go for the longest time. And we yearn for just having a moment where we don't have any worries, where we can indulge in the present moment, where we can just, enjoy our brew in peace, where we can just get some flowers and do a flower arrangement or enjoy hobbies that slow us down a little bit, where we're not always surrounded by a lot of information, a lot of pressure, a lot of negativity as well. And I feel like this is also a consequence. We are surrounded by so much negativity. The minute you open up your news, the minute you also maybe at work, most of the time it's not, let's talk about something positive, Most of the time it is either complaining about something or talking about something negative or even just feelings of anxiety. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Friday Coffee Chat here with us. We are sitting here, we are enjoying spring as it's sunny outside.
Yes.
And
we're having tea again.
We're having tea again.
Surprise, surprise.
I feel like
we should actually change them into Friday tea chats.
It's been a while since I had coffee. I mean, I've never had a coffee at your place.
And I do have coffee. I don't have...
Oh.
Yeah, there.
Ah.
I have a whole thing.
Jar
of coffee.
Okay, so...
It's filter coffee, though, so I don't have a coffee machine.
Okay, then one time, we will make coffee that I will drink because you don't drink coffee. But it's fine. And we will then have Friday coffee chats.
Half coffee, half tea.
Yeah.
Or half hot chocolate.
Yeah, but when you
whatever
think about
I feel like.
Friday brew chats doesn't sound nice. It's
Friday
like you're drinking
Friday matcha
beer.
chats. Friday matcha chats would be
matcha chats.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's the
cha-cha. But it would be more correct than coffee chats because we never have coffee, but at least we have tea.
And sometimes
usually
we have matcha.
We haven't had matcha in a very long time.
We had hot chocolate mostly, I think. But
yeah,
it was also winter.
I think because I don't know. We can start. Oh my god! You know what I'm excited about?
What?
Okay, iced matcha. It's
matcha tonics.
Matcha. I'm not there just yet. I'm I need it to be stinky hot.
I bought
matcha
linen suits for summer.
For matcha tonic
So the
dates.
matcha tonics can come now. I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
No, for me it's not warm enough. It's it's the same for me and going to the beach or maybe not going to the beach, but going swimming in the ocean. I need it to be really warm. I will never understand how people go into the water in the ocean when it's 25 degrees.
You are brave.
You are brave. I don't understand. I
Once,
cannot relate, but you are brave.
Netherlands, it was summer. And I was a teenager. Teenagers, they're a bit, the water was 18 degrees.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. No, where? In Amsterdam, Den Haag.
At the coast, yeah. Next, near Amsterdam, I went in. Don't ask me why. I stayed in for maybe 15 seconds because it was freezing.
Are you serious?
But I went in. Yeah, because that summer we didn't have a beach holiday. So we just did a tour of, the
you were
Netherlands,
the
Belgium,
Netherlands,
and France.
the cold ass ocean. This is where I'm having my summer.
It was a one-time thing. I did not like it. I shall never do it again. But never say never, because who knows? Maybe I'll get into this whole cold plunging thing. I have friends who do that.
Really?
Never understood this. But
it's supposed to be healthy.
It's supposed to be healthy. I don't know. What is healthy to me is a hot shower.
I was about to say, I can't even do a cold shower.
No, no.
I have maybe tried a couple times in my life. I decided this is not for me.
No, but
I'll prefer.
It's so uncomfortable.
I prefer to drink bone broth every day or something
Honestly,
instead of
I
having
feel like there are
a
so
cold
many
shower.
things that we do that are already so uncomfortable and that are, healthy. We work out, we try to be healthy, we try to eat healthy. I feel like the whole cold plunging doesn't significantly add more to my life. It adds more stress than benefits, or just the thought of it. The variance explained is not it.
Spoken like a true scientist.
Anyway, you guys, today, we are going to talk about, we're going to spill some tea. Let's just put it like that. Because we saw some things on social media. And, since we are content creators and we create a lot of content on social media, we also try to, keep up with the social media trends as well and to see what people are interested in and what works well. And oh my God, I feel like social media is moving into a place where we're there's a lot of question marks going on when it comes to the trends that we see on social media.
But you know what? It's not just that. It's not just social media. Actually, companies.
Yeah.
It's trends that we see in companies, and they're having real effects on real people every single day. And I guess because of social media, we just see it more. Maybe it's being perpetuated and just made big or, bigger than it should be. But I feel like all of these things that we're going to go into in a bit, they're having real impact on people, on how they perceive their lives, how happy they are, how satisfied they are. But also, these are trends that are actually happening in organizations, and people have to deal with them and they're faced with them. And from a well-being point of view, it's
bad news.
Well,
maybe not.
There are some bad, some not so bad news. Some of them are bad news, but we will spill the tea and we will give our 2 cents.
Thinking about the trends that we're going to talk about, I feel like they all kind of have a very similar root cause, And that root cause is basically the shift from, us kind of realizing, wait a minute, what is happening? Why are we working? Is my work meaningful? Is my work bringing me anything beside my salary? Do I enjoy, going to work? Is it something that I want? But also, things like, am I feeling appreciated in my workplace? And how do I navigate, more responsibilities at work, and whether those responsibilities are actually remunerated or it's just more workload dumped on us,
I think it's really, it just explains a lot about where we are as society and where we are as a generation, I would even say.
Oh, definitely. No, there are shifts going on, but enough foreshadowing.
Yes, let's dive into the first one.
Let's dive right into the first one. And the first trend that we wanted to discuss that we think is quite problematic and has some consequences on our well-being and just in general how we view work and life is the trend of quiet hiring. So the trend of quiet hiring basically means that, when there are some skill gaps within a organization or within a team, that work is not given to a new hire. So, companies don't hire people that would fill that gap within the team, but they rather dump that responsibility on existing workers, which is basically a way to cut costs, but they also kind of tend to frame it as, oh yeah, we're just gonna give you more growth opportunities and learning, and you can do all of these amazing things, and you don't get
They are
paid.
so creative. I have to,
Exactly.
I have to go to them. They are so creative in trying to sell this to you, and it is basically you just get more tasks dumped onto you that go beyond your job description, that make you feel like you're doing the job of 2 people, because guess what? You are.
Most of the
essentially
time,
you are doing the job of
yeah.
2 people or maybe even 3 people. And what you get back in return is nothing.
Yeah, you don't even get paid.
Nothing.
You don't even get a salary increase. But I feel like that's a consequence of, like all of these mass layoffs that we've seen and like, the hiring freezes and, everybody cutting budgets here and there, everybody trying to be more efficient and all of that. And sure, but the work is still there. Like that workload is not going anywhere.
And also, it might also be that, if, they go like, oh, yeah, we are restructuring the team and the jobs and whatever. And just for now, just for the next few months, you have to maybe take over a couple of tasks until we figure it out. Red flag. Like that's literally just, you got a promotion, but only with the responsibilities and none of the benefits. And something that is temporary can very quickly become not, how do you say, what's the opposite? Permanent.
Yeah.
The opposite of temporary is permanent. It becomes, they say it's temporary, but it's very much going to be permanent, or it's going to feel like it is permanent. And, maybe, I don't know, they don't think it's necessary to give you also a temporary increase of your salary for the temporary extra work.
Sure, in the beginning, it can also feel like, they finally see my skills in whatever area. So they're really giving me, work in that specific area that I can do. But the question is that workload being distributed fairly to you? Because I feel like, in the beginning, we can maybe feel like, oh, I actually wanted to do that task for so long. And maybe you actually wanted to, maybe it's a new project that you are curious about, that you're excited about, but it doesn't come with it comes with more responsibility, but with no extra benefits whatsoever, other than a pat on the back and maybe a thank you, for like taking over the work. But it doesn't, in the long run, that's just not enough.
It's also like, listen, if you got hired for a full-time position with a set amount of tasks as part of that position, it means that all of these tasks provide you with enough work to be busy for a full-time position,
exactly,
which typically is around 40 hours per week. So how then are you going to have additional tasks or additional responsibilities, and how are you going to fit them within this time frame? And what it means is, unless some of your earlier tasks are getting scrapped and you don't have to do them anymore, what this essentially means is that you work more, which means for the same money, which means you're getting paid less per hour at the end of the day. I'm
curious about whether that applies to upper management as well. And this morning, I saw a post somewhere. I mean, it was an Instagram post. And it was basically talking about a big bank and trying to define the role of vice president, so like VP at a bank, right? And funny enough, what the post was about was that, these people who get the VP title, they get the title, but not necessarily more responsibilities. So I'm wondering, is there a difference, with this like quite hiring trend, where actually you get workload dumped on your good employees, the ones that shut up and do the work, the ones that, let's say are, don't really suck it up to the boss, like just, and they just kind of stay low and quiet, do the work well, and then you've got the ones who get promoted, who play the game, who get all of these titles, but maybe actually don't do the extra work.
But I feel like that is just something, it's always been there.
But I feel like the quiet hiring emphasizes that even more. There. The quiet hiring emphasizes that even more. Because now you actually have this crisis of, you've got the layoffs. At the same time, you've got AI that everybody's talking about it. Oh, but AI is going to make your work more efficient and all of that. Sure, but we're not implementing it yet, for instance, or we're not implementing it to the extent that we would want to. So we're in this limbo where, okay, we've got the mass layoffs. Those people are out. We're in this limbo where we want to make work more efficient and there's this whole restructuring, And then, but that's going to happen in the future, somewhere in the future. As you said, like, oh, this is just temporary. It's just for a couple of, months or years or whatever. And then being stuck in this limbo, you can really see the differences between, those who play the corporate game in that sense and those who, like, this truth that it's always been there is augmented by this limbo that we're in.
Yeah, it's, you know what, it is quite interesting. I think it's also interesting in the sense of kind of also in combination with the quiet quitting trend that we saw a few years ago. I think it also really shows that the interests of the employers and the interests of the employees are drifting apart, or they seem to be drifting apart more than ever.
Yeah.
And maybe it is because of the situation that we're in, where cutting costs seems to be one of the number one priorities. It's always been a priority, obviously, for companies, right? It's like profit maximization, blah, blah, blah. But it seems to be especially important the last few years. And at the same time, you have employees that are burnt out, exhausted, frustrated, and just are seeing that, what are we actually doing? What are we working for? Why are we allowing this to happen to us? And you've had almost like a mini revolution in the sense of, during COVID and stuff, when the whole quiet quitting happened, and it almost feels like there is a retaliation coming now.
Yeah, it does really feel like that.
So, and it's just almost like a vicious cycle and a downward spiral, really.
Exactly.
It seems like the interests have never been more opposite, or like there's never been such a gap. And of course, it has always more or less been like that in a certain way. And I'm sure there's been worse times. But it just, I don't know, I feel like these trends really show that it's just completely different trends.
It is like, becoming much more polarized. And that is something that we can see with a lot of societal trends in general. Like, people are becoming more polarized and they're kind of going in two different directions. And it almost seems like there is no middle ground that, is sought to be reached in that sense, where, okay, let's find a way to collaborate and make this work for everybody. It just seems like everybody's just pushing towards their own extremes, and that's just not helping anyone at the end of the day. So now you've got these two, barricades, and okay, you've got quiet quitting, but now you've got quiet hiring, and the ball is just being passed from one barricade to another,
Which is also going to make quiet quitting more prevalent yet again,
exactly,
right? Because people are just going to be like, well, whatever. Why should I do this? But yeah, and in the end, it's not going to benefit your well-being whatsoever, right?
No,
that's the thing.
no.
Like, quiet hiring, it should be very clear to, I guess, everyone that is not the way, and that is, I don't know. I wish like we could say that we are past these kinds of trends and that people have realized that, what, human beings are not robots, and human beings are human beings. And if you care for your employees and you make sure that they're happy and satisfied with work and that they have time to relax and that they feel that you are appreciating them, that what they're going to give back to you in terms of productivity, in terms of commitment, in terms of creativity is going to be so much more valuable than these little power plays and kind of hidden ways of increasing someone's workload to just save some money. I think people really underestimate the cost.
Yeah.
And with people, I mean employers. I think they really underestimate the cost of losing a good employee, of high turnover, and of well, people having to take longer breaks from work due to illness.
That really ties well with, the whole burnout culture that we have actually been seeing and the massive outcome of all of these, let's say, dynamics where, you've got quiet quitting on the one hand, you've got mass layoffs and quiet hiring and all of that polarization. What we see is that people are exhausted.
Yeah.
And there are responses to this massive burnout and exhaustion. And they even trickle down to social media trends.
Yes. And we're talking about the soft life.
Yeah.
And the comfort creators. Like the last few months, I started seeing this everywhere on TikTok, where it's like, oh, this is my application to be your favorite comfort creator.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm like, yes, finally a little bit something more comforting and
wholesome,
wholesome content. Like we live for that. But also, what does it say? And it says that we are craving for the soft life. We are craving for comfort. We are craving for slow, peaceful life.
Yeah, I feel
which
like
is what you said. It's a response.
It's a response to the fact that we have been on the go, go, go for the longest time. And we yearn for just having a moment where we don't have any worries, where we can indulge in the present moment, where we can just, enjoy our brew in peace, where we can just get some flowers and do a flower arrangement or enjoy hobbies that slow us down a little bit, where we're not always surrounded by a lot of information, a lot of pressure, a lot of negativity as well. And I feel like this is also a consequence. We are surrounded by so much negativity. The minute you open up your news, the minute you also like maybe at work, most of the time it's not, well, let's talk about something positive, Most of the time it is either complaining about something or talking about something negative or even just feeling this anxiety of life.
You know what? I feel like you can also really tell when you look at the movie and series industry, so like the entertainment industry. Where are the funny like comedies or rom-coms from like the early 2000s or like late 90s? Where are they? Everything that we see is drama. It is action. It is negative. All of these movies,
it's a lot of negative and a lot of negative
like,
and intense emotions.
Intense emotions, but like negative intense emotions, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like clearly this is somehow representative of the current zeitgeist or something, right?
Yeah.
But what does that actually say? It's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of intense negative emotions. And the soft life and the comfort creators are kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's this thing where it's like we are yearning for change.
It's a response. It's a response to the fact that we're tired.
Yeah.
It's a response to the fact that it's almost like a coping mechanism, you know? You kind of just want to shut yourself off in this bubble and just be in your fuzzy little corner of the world and just do nice stuff that feels good, that makes you feel warm, that makes you feel safe. And I think safety here
is a
huge word, because the soft life, what it kind of instills in you is this feeling of safety in the present moment. There's no worries. There's nothing you need to worry about. There's no pressure. You are safe. You are safe, and you're comfortable. And that is something that is lacking so much to nowadays, where not only are we always on the go, 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 and we have all these external pressure, but we also have internal pressure.
Yeah.
And we finally have this almost like a breather moment of,
kind of like the being okay with just the simple things in life.
Yeah. That's quite interesting, because I feel like, we're kind of chasing this like bigger, better, faster, more, and this treadmill of, always chasing for more is, I think it's called a dopamine treadmill, if I'm not mistaken, where it's like whatever you get is never enough, where that is, it's a never-ending cycle. And we're shifting back into the small things.
Yeah.
That actually matter, because a lot of the times actually, like if you look back, I feel like, let's say you reminisce on certain moments, right? And like you're early life or, you know, your childhood or like, you know, like our student life, for instance, you know?
Aw, that was such a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
That was such a good time.
And it's not necessarily the big moments, the big things.
No.
But it is the small moments. It is,
Yeah.
you know, going to the library.
It's the
and
wholesome moments,
Yeah,
right? The
exactly.
community aspect of it as well.
Exactly. And these are the high quality moments, but are also the small ones that we don't appreciate in like when
Yeah.
they happen, but we only realize how much value they hold after time has passed. And I feel like that the soft life is exactly that.
Yeah, and I think it just totally also has to do with the fact that we've realized that the hustle doesn't necessarily work for us.
No.
Or it is not, I'm not going to say it doesn't work for us. I'm going to say the benefits that were promised to us that we would get if we hustle, we don't necessarily see those benefits. And
Exactly.
I think with we, I mean like a whole generation of people. It's just like working, but you know, we haven't been able to achieve certain things that we thought we would be able to achieve. And so I feel like it forces us to reconsider what is important in
Yeah.
life, actually. So, okay, soft life, approved or not approved?
I feel like the soft life is something that, I mean, I found myself even craving for it sometimes.
I say it all the time. I have to say, I'm like, I want the soft life.
Like, of course, you know, of course. Like, there is a lot of stuff that we need to do. There's a lot of, you know, pressure. I want, you know, to come home and just put my flowers in a vase and make myself some tea and just, you know, read for an hour without having any worry in the world. I love that. I love that. I will play the devil's advocate for a bit.
Go for it.
I'm wondering, and don't necessarily share this opinion, but that's just, you know, me trying to stir the pot. I'm wondering whether the soft life and yearning for the soft life makes us less resilient
To what?
to the stressors that we encounter in daily life. And like saying this, I immediately find counter arguments for it because I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm just thinking, because I believe that, you know, you can find people who would say, yeah, but I mean, life will be hard, you know, there will be moments when life is hard and all of that. And you need to be resilient and you need to find ways, and you can't just yearn for a soft life, like an absolute soft life, you know? And I feel like that is the trick here, whether it's a relative or an absolute thing, you know?
It's about the expectations, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like, do you expect life to only be rainbows and butterflies and everything is perfect? You will get disappointed if
Yeah.
that is the expectation. If you expect perfection within this soft life, you will get disappointed. But I do think that what you just described, right? Like I was thinking about it while you were describing, you know, coming home and arranging flowers in a vase or vase, and sitting down and having tea and like reading a book. These are all things that are possible.
Exactly.
And these are all things that I think you will be a bit more aware of the soft life aspects within your life if you do them intentionally. And I think maybe this is also the big learning for me personally, actually, where it's like, where do I actually have a soft life? But I'm not really appreciating it enough because it is the small moments, right? It is the small moments in our studies when, you know, we were going to the library because we had to study for our exams, but, you know, we met up for coffee or we went for food afterwards or a drink.
Okay, petition
like, you
to
know,
rename soft life
to
soft moments.
soft moments.
That's more intentional.
It's like the soft moments of your life.
Exactly. And that is something that can be infused in the daily life as well. Because I feel like just saying soft life means that now my entire life is soft. That's just not realistic, you know? You can't just have a soft life forever and ever and have no problems whatsoever.
But maybe
soft moments.
that is interesting. Yeah, I agree. But I think it's also like an attitude thing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a mindset thing. You can see your life as like a soft life, with like, you know, obviously some challenging moments in between, but it doesn't have to take away from, I don't know, I guess whatever is important to you and whatever you consider soft life.
Yeah. I feel like
it's kind of approved by us.
Yeah.
I feel like soft life, you know, don't get too delulu, but a little delulu doesn't
Let
hurt.
me tell you who actually got delulu about the soft life.
Can I say? I think I know.
Guess from 100 guess. Yes.
Does it go into the third?
Yeah.
Trent, okay. Nara Smith.
Drum roll.
Nara Smith.
What's this
Got
other one?
delulu.
Ballerina Farm.
Oh, I don't know this one.
I'm
trying to stay away from.
Okay, we're talking about Tradwives, guys.
Tradwives, yes. So the third,
The third
well-being
trend.
trend is Tradwives that we want to talk about. I only know Nara Smith. I know there are a few more, but
So
I'm trying to stay
I
away
kind of
from this
tried
kind
to,
of
like,
content.
In preparation for this episode,
Yeah.
I kind of went down a rabbit hole to kind of see where the hell did this come from?
Where
And
did
like,
it come
what was
from?
this? You know, what's this, brother? And there's this person called Ballerina Farm.
Oh, she was the OG Tradwife.
She apparently was the OG. This is all TikTok, Wikipedia.
TikTok news.
TikTok University. That's how it's
TikTok
called.
University.
TikTok University. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. It might not have been the OG, but you know,
Okay.
it is one of the OGs. So she is living on a farm. She has 8 kids, and she basically is the most, you know, if you could have a prototype of a trad wife, that would be Ballerina Farm, you know. And then she also has like a business and, you know, all of that. But, you know, I feel like that is less talked about. It's more, you know, the whole trad wife processes, daily things that you do, you know, like cooking and, you know, taking care of kids and all that. And then we got Nara Smith. I got the ick with her though.
I can't watch that.
I got the ick, and I'm like, in the
I
beginning-
understand the fascination, but I don't participate in it.
I'm with you. No, honestly, like, I don't know. Like, it just, at some point, like in the beginning, I was like, okay, here's a soft voice, you know, cooking cereals or cheese puffs or whatever she's making. She's always making weird stuff, like, I have to say.
I think that's the trick. That's the point.
So you're like, but how are cheese puffs made? I never knew how, you know.
Me neither. I don't know how
Anyway.
you can make them, but yeah.
But now I'm like, you're faking it. And you know when it happened? When I saw a interview of her on like a red carpet thing, and she was talking like a normal person.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh, you can be normal, you know? Why make this? Like, imagine if this podcast was, hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Friday coffee chats. You would stop right away. At least I would.
Some would, some others maybe wouldn't. I mean, clearly it's working for
working,
her. We're not saying we're gonna change the
No,
podcast. We're
no,
not.
we won't. No, we won't. We don't want you to get the ick.
But you know what? Like, jokes aside, it is a very interesting trend. It kind of goes back to the whole burnout thing. I think, yet again, why are we so fascinated by it, right? We're watching it, like, love it or hate it, but we are fascinated by this trend. And a lot of us are consuming this content, and the question is why. And just going back to the burnout, we are at a point where a lot of us are not happy with how things are going. And I will say with a lot of us, I will just say women. We have been, or we're living in this world where there is a lot of hustling. We're trying to, you know, do the best that we can in whichever way, shape, or form this might look like for you. We have our ambitions, we have our goals. We're participating in hustle culture. At the same time, burnout rates have never been as high as they are currently. We're not necessarily seeing results. Women face a lot of challenges in the corporate world, to say it mildly. And now we have this trend of trad wives that kind of show this supposedly, allegedly perfect life of spending your days wearing fancy clothes while you're standing in a picture perfect kitchen making bloody cornflakes from scratch or
Cheese
something
puffs.
like
For me, it's cheese puffs.
Whichever,
that for me was fascinating. But I feel like
it
we
is.
need to
What does this mean?
take a step back and actually define treadwise, because I'm not sure if everybody knows exactly what we mean, with treadwise. And with treadwise, what we mean exactly is this movement of basically rejecting the, career orientations, career goals, and kind of moving back into the traditional gender roles that women have, such as taking care of kids, making things from scratch, taking care of the home. Have you watched Mad Men, by the way? Mm-mm. So Mad Men is a great example of treadwise. It's basically,
isn't it playing in the 50s or something?
Exactly. Yeah. It's women in the 50s, in the 60s who were frowned upon if they wanted to work, and, this whole career thing was like, yeah, maybe get a husband and make a baby and like take care of your home because that's what you were made for, And we see that nowadays, but differently. Not as a societal norm necessarily, but as a response,
But that's the thing, right?
Exactly.
It's literally the opposite of how life has been for a lot of women the past 2 decades or so.
Yeah.
Maybe more. But that's the thing. It's almost like going back multiple decades.
Yeah.
And going back to, something very traditional. And going back to something that a lot of women fought to leave. Like a lot of women fought for leaving that situation and helping us, be where we are right now. And it's easy to just be like, oh yeah, that's just, I don't agree with that. And that is, I don't know, just content and kind of dismiss it like that. But again, it like, what does it say? The fact that we are so fascinated by watching this kind of content, what does it say about what we are lacking and like what needs are maybe not fulfilled
exactly.
at this point in time?
Exactly. But I have to
and
say,
that is a conversation I think we need to have more.
I think the main emotion that is felt whenever it comes to the rise of treadwise trend is this feeling of being treated unfairly still, So it's kind of like, okay, we went to work now, like we have freedoms and all that, but we still need to do all this stuff at home. And most of the times women are the ones to pick up the unpaid labor that is being done in the household,
There's enough studies that show that as well. Like we have numbers on that where it's like the mental workload unproportionately is with women.
Exactly.
To this day, no matter whether they work or not.
That is unfair because on the one hand, you have to like have a career. On the other hand, you also are the one who has to take care of your house, who has to take care of your kids, and so on. And that's basically just, it gets too much. And this is a response to this getting too much, where people are like, you know what? I have to do the household stuff anyway.
Might as well
ditch the job.
Which is so dangerous as well, though, because in terms of financial freedom and just having independence, and there is a reason why we moved away from this kind of, or a lot of us have moved away from this kind of life. It is because there are issues attached to that and challenges attached to that as well, right? And so what does this mean, though? Because clearly how things have been going have led us to being burned out. And I think there's just a larger conversation needed about how can we actually move towards gender equality?
Exactly.
How can we make sure that women are not the ones who are solely responsible for the mental load at home, in the household? And this really starts, I think, just, with education, just raising your children and raising your daughters and also
And
raising
boys.
your sons
Yep.
in a way where true equality between genders can actually happen.
For sure. I feel like, that with like treadwise in general, what it does mainly is that it oversimplifies a lot of the like dynamics that happen within relationships, and especially when it comes to things that could make us vulnerable, for instance, financial independence,
Yeah.
because what do you do in case of a divorce? You become, as a treadwife, you become dependent on the breadwinner or whatever
Yeah.
it's called, and that is the partner usually.
Yeah.
So how does that help you feel empowered in that sense, where you feel like I have the stability to, let's say, if I'm in a relationship I don't want to be anymore,
Yeah.
to just leave
Yeah.
and be okay with that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a problematic trend, in my opinion. It's a very problematic trend, but a trend that we shouldn't ignore because
Yeah.
it says something deeper
Exactly.
within society
Exactly.
that is happening, and it says a lot about the experience of a lot of women.
And it's kind of like this romanticizing of, you know what, I'm just going to like dismiss the fact that I worked so much and had burnout. And now I'm just going to romanticize, the things that a trad wife does, for instance, or romanticize, or like reminisce on the traditional gender roles. And that just takes away from the root cause, which is burnout mainly,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm not going to look on that side because it's problematic to look at the fact that I was burned out and, I have just too much to do and the mental load is just too much for me. Instead, I will just create this illusion that, I will be now doing this traditional stuff as a response to that. So approved, not approved.
Not approved.
Not approved.
Not approved, but also not ignored.
Correct. Very
I will
important.
say that.
Yeah,
I will
very
say
important.
that. So you guys, we really hope you enjoyed this Friday coffee chat. We sure did. We really wanted to have a chat about what is actually happening, because these trends are trends for a reason, and break them down a little bit about, what do they actually mean and what are things that we in our everyday lives can pay attention to. And
also what is behind it, I think.
what is behind it, and also how to make sure that we don't just kind of like get swallowed almost by these trends, but understand, okay, what does that say about me? And once you know what it says about you, then you can work towards getting your needs fulfilled in a healthy and effective manner.
And if you've been enjoying this episode, you can support our Friday coffee chats by buying us a coffee. You can find the link in the episode description. And if you like this episode, send it to your bestie. We hope to see you in our next Friday coffee chat.
Bye.